Okay, I didn't realize that I have to explicitly click the go live switch on YouTube. I thought I have been speaking to you all along, which I haven't. So, okay. So, good morning, everybody. Can you please give me a +1 in the chat if you can see the screen and if you can hear me fine? Okay, awesome. There's like I think a 10-second lag between when I am talking and by the time it gets to you, and probably another 10 seconds before your messages reach me, which is why I've tried to put a portion of the live chat as I see it. Right in the live stream, okay, so you can see what I see. So in case you don't hear from me immediately, then then you know why. Okay, so requesting just a bit of patience. I think yeah, I think yesterday went off really well, so I'm not too worried. Let me just scroll back up to see. Ritik, you have a question about 3.9 dictionaries don't lose their order. I think that is correct. In Canvas, I don't remember offhand which version of Python we're using. I think it is 3.8.2 or something like that. But I'll double check this. Yeah, and it is true that especially for the pop item method, which relies on which does rely on the dictionaries having a particular order. I think the answers can be a bit different. We have had other students experience that as well and tell us about it. So your reasoning there would be right. So I hope that answers your question. Um, Durga has a question about yesterday's recording. I think Kushagra has already shared the link, and hopefully that works. And Okay, like, share, and subscribe. Yeah, okay. I yeah, I still don't know if there's anything else that's going to come on this channel, so it may be a little bit wasted, but okay, I'm not complaining if you do that. Um, Siva, Sai, and Durga, I don't know. I think the recording that you're talking about may have been a test pre-recording. So I will double check to make sure that the full recording is in. In the meantime, I think if somebody had, I think Kushagra, if you could repost that link if you don't mind, then that'd be great. Venkata, yes, I'm not sure why the F notation does not seem to work on the version of Python that's on Canvas. It works fine otherwise though. So again, I don't know if that's a versioning issue, but that's a good point. We'll have to, I'll have to look into why that's happening. Okay, good. Just to test things, I was trying to see if we can integrate item pool into this live stream. So let me see if we can do that. Just give me a moment. So recall that yesterday we completed, I think, 4 problems, starting with majority winner, then we moved on to airport, and then we did finding peaks, and then zero crossing detectors, right? So I would just like to do a quick sanity check on how much progress we've made here. Um, so as usual, please go to item pool live, and let me just say that we're going to spend maybe 3 minutes doing a poll. And I think the first question that's on your screen is if you've ever used a T9 keyboard. And as you answer, your answer should show up on the stream. I just want to make sure that all of us are here and we are in sync with each other. So okay, so I don't know how many people are viewing this right now. There are about 123 viewers, so let's see if make sure that the break screen is the one that's visible to you guys. Akshay, will this video be available later? Yes, it will be. Okay, let's take a look. There are of course no right or wrong answers in this one. I'm sorry, you can't see that 30 of you have answered no and 77 of you have answered yes. So that's awesome. Some people are like, what is a T9 keyboard? That's the one that's there in the last problem that we are going to solve. And let me just increase the amount of time that we have for this poll. Just give me a moment. Yeah, I want to know how are we doing with the assignment, with the final lab. Okay, Ritik, you've had some problem with past assignments because of this variation in dictionaries. So maybe you should still be able to resubmit, right? So can you correct it and resubmit it, and we'll just manually make sure that it's not counted as a late submission. And it'll be great if you could just send me an email about it so that it's on the record. Okay, there are apparently more than 140 of you who have joined the stream, so it really it would be really nice if at least 100 of you respond to these polls. Okay, just want to make sure that everyone is awake and that they're able to see what's going on and that you're able to participate. Okay? The link for item pool came a while ago. Let me just paste it again. Okay, thanks Krishagra. That's the correct link indeed. Okay, so all right, I think we've just about crossed 100 responses. That's great. I hope that the majority of those responses is a yes. Okay, very cool. 17 no's, 87 yeses. That's great. What about the airport problem? How are we doing on those? Okay, to those of you who have not submitted majority winner, please share in the chat if it was just because you haven't found the time or whether you actually ran into a problem with your code. Uh, we s- we did discuss it quite completely yesterday. Those of you who were not around, there will be a link. I think Kushagra has already shared it in the chat to the recording of the lab session yesterday. So please go through it and please submit your assignment at some point today. Okay. Aishwarya, that's a bit strange. Can you see it in the stream where I've shared the live chat? Like I'm able to see it. So Meet, it depends which problem you're talking about. Um, yeah, so if you could yeah, that yeah, okay. Um, Yeah, hopefully the issue with the comments have been sorted out. Looking for a few more responses on this question and then I'll move on to the next one. Um, didn't find the time. Okay, and Meet, you're saying the last two problems. Okay. So Meet, you might want to put your code in Replete and share it here on the chat or maybe even as a comment on the announcement. I'm happy to, try and take a look there or one of the TAs will be able to pitch in. Okay. All right. Shreyash, just go to repl.it, right? And just paste your code there, and you'll get an option. You can just directly share the link once you create a REPL, or you get an option to actually share something, which yeah. Okay, so 21 of you have not submitted airport. Again, same comment. Please, if it's because of lack of time or because you were working on the project, it's okay. Just go through the recording and try to get it done. Um, what about finding peaks? Real quick. Shesh, yeah, you might have to create an account on Replete. I don't like. I've always had one for a very long time, so I don't remember. I don't know how it works now. I'm always like logged in, but there's some other websites as well, like Pastebin that lets you paste code and share it with others, which should be fine. Okay. This point we are out of the time that I scheduled for the poll. Let me just add 2 more minutes here, and I'm just curious about the last question. What about finding peaks, everyone? Why is somehow more of you seem to have not submitted it? Was there an issue with the problem? I mean, I'm happy to see that by and large the majority of you are done in all the problems so far, but for finding peaks, we seem to have more people saying no than yes. Hopefully, the smaller number is people who are saying no. Let me reveal in 10 seconds, and we'll find out. Okay, we've had over like 100 responses. Yeah, fortunately, the majority of you have said yes, but 33 of you have said you haven't had a chance to do finding peaks. What about zero crossing detectors? I think those of you who were not around in the lab yesterday may have had some trouble with this. But when you say yes, basically you've submitted and hopefully you've gotten like 100% yes. This seems to be very equally divided so far. Shresh, you're asking for sites for what pasting and sharing code. I think Replit is a great site to start with, but let me just link you to another one that's popular for just sharing code. Vikash midsem will not be counted as late days, so don't worry about that. Okay, so for zero crossing detectors, we seem much more equally divided somehow. Um, okay, let me just switch this out. Um, yeah. Okay. So I think so it looks like we are in a reasonably good situation. Most of you have submitted most of the problems, at least among the ones that we have discussed. And maybe some of you have even solved the T9 typing an SMS problem. But yesterday, I think a lot of people were waiting for me to get to a discussion on this problem, and it didn't happen until the very end. And at the end, we said, "Oh, we're all tired. Let's just do it tomorrow." So today, um, I don't want to start with a different problem and disappoint all of you. Let's start with this one and see how it goes. And if nothing else, we will at least solve this one. And if we have time, we will get to conditions and odd even as well. Okay. All right. So yeah, I may have to adjust the coding scene a little bit. Just give me a second while I do that. And by the way, the zero crossing is like literally 50-50. I don't think you can see the final number here. Just let me see if yeah. So 51 of you have submitted and 50 of you have not. So there's obviously some work to do here. But again, if you faced a specific challenge, please let me know. Okay. All right. Cool. Yeah, Prakram is like first do SMS one and then the others. Yes, that is indeed the plan. Shreyash, please explain which problem is this code for and what problem are you facing exactly. And I'm going to request those of you who are attending live and you're in a comfortable situation with respect to your own labs, if you want a quick karma points, then please see if you can help out Shreyash with the code that he shared. I'm going to first focus on the problem at hand and hopefully get back to you after that, Shreyash, if that's okay. And if not, then I'll definitely get back to you after the lab. Yeah, okay, great. Yash is asking, how does Replete help us? It's just an online IDE, Yash. It has a lot of features beyond Python as well. A lot of people do interesting things with Replete. It's also a nice community. But for now, it's just something that I use, for example, during the classes to just code with you live. And when we're doing smaller sections, like in section 6, we've sometimes used Replete, like we use Google Docs to code together. And the class has been awesome about, helping me out write pieces of code collaboratively. So that's how I use it, okay? Okay, it's possible. Okay, I don't know if the way YouTube live stream works is that maybe when somebody shares a link, either to avoid spam or for security reasons, maybe it doesn't show links from participants. So let me see if I can copy it. Let me know if you can see it now. Yeah, Isha has a good point as well. I don't know if all chat versus stop chat makes a difference, but hopefully all of you can see the link now. Hopefully that should be fine. Okay, good. All right. You all should know more about YouTube live streams than I do. Okay, so thanks for the help there. And let's. I think finally let's get started with the T9 problem. If you'll just give me 30 seconds here, I'll just try and make sure that the code view is okay as well. Maybe this is not ideal, but. sorry to be doing this editing live, guys, but there seems to be like, I think I tried to zoom in so that the font size is bigger and it kind of destroyed the OBS layout. So I'm going to hope that this is sort of okay. Okay, can everyone please confirm that the font size and stuff is okay? Okay, great. All right, thanks. So let me switch out to the notes just so that we can understand this problem first a little bit, and then we'll go back to coding. So just to recall, what is the problem asking you to do? It's asking you to take a string, right? And it's asking you to convert it to a sequence of key presses that you would have to use to generate the string. If the way you were allowed to type was using this keyboard that you can see at the bottom left of your screen, okay? So how does this work? The way this works is that if you wanted to generate a letter, right, then you'll have to figure out where it is on the keypad, and depending on whether it is the first, second, third or fourth letter on that key, you'll have to press that key that many times. So for example, if I wanted to type out my name, Neil, I would have to press 6 twice, because when I press 6 twice in quick succession, I see M and then followed by N. Some of you said that you've used such a keyboard in your probably past life, or maybe you even have such a thing right now. So so then you probably find it easier to understand this problem. But even if not, just use your imagination a little bit, okay? So if I press 6 twice in quick succession, then I see on the screen, I will see M, but it'll then quickly change to a N, okay? Then I'll have to type 3 twice to get an E, and then I'll have to pause, all right? The reason I have to pause is because I want to type an E again, and if I just press 3, 3, 3, 3, then the first threes together will become a F, and the last three will become a D. So hopefully you understand why I have to pause. After pressing 3 twice, I have to pause. The E gets rendered, and after the pause, if I press 3, 3 again, then I get another E, okay? And then I have to press 5 3 times to get the L, okay? It's not a very optimal name for a T9 keyboard, lots of key presses, but okay. So I don't know if anybody has a name which can be done with just as many key presses as the letters in your name. If you do, give me a shout in the chat, we'll go over your example. Or just, yeah, or something close to that, like not too many key presses. But anyway, hopefully what needs to be done is clear. Given a string, you have to figure out what is the sequence of key presses, and every time you have to do this pause thing, you have to indicate that with a white space. So that is the problem setting. Now, unfortunately, the answers are also visible here. I didn't want it to be like that, so let me just, for whatever it's worth, let me temporarily suppress the answers. Okay, so here you see a description of the problem and you see the examples, and what I would like to know from you is how would you do hi, that's the first example. Let me know in the chat. Okay, you can use the side button instead of pausing. I don't know if that was advice for me, but I'm not pausing anything, so sorry, I'm not sure. But what I want from you, just to recap, is how will you type out hi using the T9 keyboard? Okay, all right. Um, Great. I think most of you got that quite right. So you have to do um, 2 4s to render the edge. Okay, that's coming from this picture here. And then the I is also on the same key. So you have to give it a pause here and then do 4 3 times. Okay. All right. Great. Let's try. So the first response came from Shailya. So let's try and type Shailya. Okay, what's the sequence of key presses for this? Yeah, Prithviraj, good suggestion. That's going to be the overall approach. Yes. Okay, Aishwarya, there are no spaces. Yeah, that's interesting. So let's see. So I'll just quickly highlight the keys without getting into how many times you have to do them. So S is on key number 7, H is 4, A is 2, I is 4 again, L is 5, Y is 9, and A is 2. Okay. Yeah, lucky name in the sense that you don't have to pause. You can just like keep typing. And so yeah, I think all of you have 7 4 2 4 5 9 2. Rajesh, you don't need those spaces, yeah, because you're jumping between different keys, na? So you'll see in the problem description this one line in bold there which says do not print any white spaces while changing keys. So when you go from 7 to 4, there is no need to pause. Okay, so that's why you don't need those spaces. But I think everyone else here, I think has the right thing. So it's the sequence that you can see on the screen, except you need to expand it the correct number of times. Okay, all right. So Chandeli, I hope I got your name right. What will be the expected output for DBBD? Okay, so let's work that out. So to get a D, you'll have to press 3 once, right? And I think there are already responses in the chat. So, but let me kind of work it out anyway. So I think Shailya and Yash have already told you, Pavithar as well. So thanks for those responses. So a B will require 2 2s, right? But in going from 3 to 2, you don't need a space because those are different keys. But you have to press B again, so that's just like the double E in my name. So you have to pause before you can do B again. And B is again 2 2, and then D is 3. Okay. So Shreyash, it's almost correct. You need a space in between the string of 2s. Okay, because what Shreyash has written in the chat, just to explain that for a moment, if you do 3 2 2 2 2 3, what string does this correspond to? What will this output? Okay, so the first 3 will definitely be a D, and then these 3 2s will get interpreted together right? And that'll become, oh, I see, sorry, did I say that correctly? So there is a question of whether each of these twos will be interpreted individually or together. I think these keys will be interpreted together for as long as they can be. Okay, so so this in fact will become, a C, and this 2 is lonely here and it'll be an A. That's why if you wanted to print an A, I think if you look at the description above, right? If you wanted to get an A after a D, you will have to press 2 and pause. Okay, because you're not pausing, these 3 2's will be interpreted together as C. Okay, then the last 2 is an A and the last 3 is a D. So unfortunately it's not DAD. If you wanted to do DAD, it would just be 3 2 3. It is D C A D as Sankarshan, and okay, only Sankarshan as far as I can see has pointed out it is DCAD. Okay, shouldn't it be A? No. If you wanted to print an A, right, the only way you can print an A is if you print 3 2 followed by any number which is not 2. Okay, or 3 2 followed by a space. But if you type 3 2 2, then that 2 2 gets interpreted together. Okay, sorry, I guess you cannot see what I'm writing here. So okay, so if you print 2 2 together, then it will get rendered as B, and if you print 2 2 2, it will get rendered as C. Okay. Haiku, between C and A, that is in the input, right? So the input is a string of uppercase letters, right? And I don't think these uppercase letters have spaces in them, but if they do, then you can just replicate the space. So your question, between C and A, is there a space? Meaning, so if you're asking if there is a space here in this part, there isn't. Okay, and the question is, how will the keyboard interpret that, right? So it will take the signal for as long as it can, and it will interpret it, and it will follow it by, and then it will just continue interpreting. Okay. Yeah, Shailya, you have a good point. If we wanted to write DCAD, I would recommend putting a space. That is true. Yeah, so if you're, this is a good point. So if you had DCAD as input, then how would you say it? You would say, okay, the D is a 3, the C is a 2 2 2, and the A, because it's the same key as before, we should pause and render it like this, and then a 3 again. Okay, so okay, all right. So there are two there are two issues here. One is, if I give you DCAD, then what is the string that you should output? And for that, I agree that according to the rules that have been given to you, you should output this and not this. Okay. But if somebody gives you a string which is 3 and 4 2's together and a 3, there are two ways that you could look at it. You could either declare it to be an invalid string, right? You could say that, okay, look, boss, I don't know I don't know how to handle this, right? Because four consecutive twos don't mean anything. There is nothing on the key that tells me what is four consecutive twos. And so you could simply say that when you type something like this, I will not see anything, I will not, it'll just get rejected. Or maybe you have a smart keyboard which says, okay, let me coalesce the first three twos into a C and interpret the next one as an A. So since the question does not ask you to translate a string of numbers into a string of characters, this is not something that you have to worry about. But yeah, since somebody responded with this when I was asking for dbbd, I said ki if agar ye hota, then it would have rendered this other string. But you guys are right in the sense that in some sense this, you could say that this is not a valid string of numbers at all. The keyboard will not know how to interpret this. Okay. But I think you can try this if anybody has a Nokia phone or something. You could try it and see what happens. I have a feeling that it will not give you an error. It will just print C followed by A. But yeah, if you had the task of printing the correct set of keystrokes, you would have to put that space in between. The problem does not say that if it is unambiguous, if it is clear what to do, then the space is not required. It's not like that. You always print a space. So for DCAD, you are right that the code should print, the three twos followed by a space followed by two. Okay, so this was a good example to bring up. Whoever brought up DBBD and whoever brought up this proposed answer in response to that. But as I said, if you wanted to print, DBBD or DCAD or whatever. Yeah. So, so let me pause here and ask if we are good with the examples. Let me just quickly also talk about ABC, the example that's given to you. ABC would be 2 followed by a space, followed by two twos, followed by a space, followed by three twos. Okay, that's hopefully clear. Let me just scroll down here a bit so you can see that those are the officially indicated responses as well. And yeah, good, thanks indeed. Okay, Sandeep, it prints 2 for 4 twos. Kya? Interesting. Okay, so it's like I've given up and I'll just print the number. Interesting. Okay, so it prints. Okay, so I think many of you have said that the 4 twos become a 2. Okay, so I stand corrected then. If you wanted to see a C followed by a A, then you really have to pause. If you don't pause, it'll either take it to the number or it'll just go back. It'll just cycle back and print an A. I think it might depend on your phone. Okay, Sankarshan, my name is Khan is not clear. Okay, so let's do my name is Khan. Let me just erase all of this here. So again, as before, let me try to pull out the keys without worrying about how many times we have to repeat them. Okay, so M is a 6. Actually, let me see if I can color code this a bit so that so M is a 6, N is also a 6, this is 6 again, I is 4, K is 5, and A is 2. I'm writing it this way just so that you can see it clearly, it's not confusing as to which is which. I think I can make this slightly bigger. Okay. Does everybody agree that these are the keys that we have to press? Forget about how many times we have to press them. And can you tell me if we need to pause anywhere? Are there two consecutive keys that are the same? Do we need to pause? Okay, thanks Prithviraj. That's good to know. Yeah, so maybe when you type a long string of any digit, it will take modulus 3 or modulus 4 or something and loop back. That is one way to interpret it. The other way to interpret it is that it will go back to the number if you cross like three or four consecutive key presses. So yeah, there are different ways that the phones may have to disambiguate something that is not very clear. That's an interesting point. Okay. So, okay, so some of you are saying no. I hope that is in response to my question of whether there should be any spaces, whether there are consecutive keys that are the same. So let's confirm that. So from the first to the second, it's from 6 to 9. Then we go from 9 to 6, 6 to 2, 2 to 6, 6 to 3, 3 to 4, 4 to 7, 7 to 5, 5 to 4, 4 to 2 and 2 to 6. Okay, so there are no consecutive numbers that are repeating here, so we don't have to type any spaces at all in the output. We just have to see what is the multiplier, how many times do we need to press these keys. And I think if you just check, it should tally. So M is the first key on 6, so 6 gets printed just once. Okay, so 6 gets printed just once. 9 has to be printed. 9 has to be printed 3 times, because Y is the third key on Y is the third letter on that key. The second 6 has to be printed twice because N is the second letter on the key 6, and so on and so forth. So hopefully, so you'll see that 7 has to be printed 4 times because S is the fourth key here. So this guy has to be printed 4 times. So hopefully this example is okay in terms of what is happening. Hopefully it's clear that there are no spaces and it's this sequence of keys, but you have to expand it to get to get the multipliers right. Okay, all right. So so let me pause here. Are all the examples okay? Yes, Satvik, my ringtone is the Tom and Jerry opening. Yes, I usually put my phone on silent, but a mistake to have not done that during this class. So good catch. A lot of people don't recognize that tune, surprisingly. So okay, I don't know why you deleted that comment, but okay. All right, so moving on, is everyone good with the examples? Can we start coding, or is there any confusion about like how the translation is to be done? Give me your favorite emoji if things are clear, and just say it in a comment if you want to discuss another example. Shreyash, does anybody not like Tom and Jerry? I don't know. Okay. All right, cool. So, all right. So let's move on to the code then. I think I don't see anybody asking for more examples. So good. Um, Actually, I think it'd be more useful to keep the keypad here rather than the problem statement. So let me hide this. Oh, okay. I think picked up the wrong thing. Just one second. Okay, awesome. So the only thing to remember from that input screen that I just ended up hiding, let me bring it up once again, is that the first line is the number of tests. So we'll do, this is the number of tests, and so we'll have to do okay. Okay, so the real work has to happen here. So so let's see if we can convert the input into a list of individual characters, right? So I'm not sure if this will work. What happens if I do hi.split? Okay. So I'm still left with hi. So I could, of course, just loop through the whole thing. Sorry. Okay, let's just. I don't know if like split has a way in which they give us the individual characters, but. Okay, this seems to be fine. So we have the list of individual letters, and now we just need to do sort of the translation. Yes, Anuj, I found out the hard way that it will remain one string, unfortunately. Okay, so let me hide this so that you can see the output as well. Maybe bring this a bit closer. Okay, good. So so now what do we need to do? For each letter we need to print the corresponding key. So let's put in the keys somewhere, guys. So we'll have to probably come up with a dictionary. This part is a bit boring. So there are like multiple ways in which you can do this. So some people will say something like oops, sorry. So for instance, you can say that 2 is mapped to ABC, 3 is mapped to DF, and so on. And then you try to loop through this and multiply, to create the dictionary, you try to get a multiplier for the, the correct number of times that you need to multiply this out. I'm not sure if you want to do it like that or just do it the old-fashioned way. So so to begin with, let me do it the straightforward way, and if somebody has like a more interesting way of doing it, let me know in the chat. Okay, so but for now let's just say okay, maybe you're right. I am not sure. Split. empty does not make sense. This might make sense. I'm like, let's see. Yeah, could have done that actually. I think that's a valid suggestion. Okay, so let's just write this out. I think all our letters are uppercase, so we don't have to worry too much. Let me continue to use single quotes for consistency. So sorry guys, this is going to take a while, so if you're coding along, please feel free to do that. And if you're observant, please let me know if I'm making a mistake, but I'm trying to follow the keypad on the screen. I'm not sure why it doesn't like. Not sure why I'm getting an error on line number 9. If somebody can spot that, let me know. So that's GHI, JKL. Sometimes, okay, this is like super meditative. Let's I really invite you to code along so that you can finish off your assignment as well. Okay, no comma after B. Thanks, good catch. O is, okay, that's the devil. B, Q. Yeah, sometimes also having like a better, so if I was using VS Code, this would have been like slightly faster, but it's okay. What editors are you all using, guys? Let me know in the chat. Just a bit of time passed while I'm still typing. What IDE or editors are you using? Okay, when we made the sample solution for this, we used a slightly shorter method, but I don't think it matters. So, okay. All right, so hopefully there aren't like mistakes here. Okay, good. Yeah, hopefully this map is okay. I'm going to collapse this so that we don't have to see this horrendous thing all the time. Yeah, Kanishka, I think that's one place to start and do it slightly better. If we have time, we'll come back and see. We already passed 11, unfortunately, but we'll kind of see if we can do this more efficiently. Yeah, Yash, I don't know. It depends on your situation. I mean, I personally use VS Code, but then again, I personally have never tried PyCharm, so it won't be really fair to comment. But at this point, the answer is whatever works best for you. Okay, so now I think we go over the letter and letters. Actually, we could have even done this directly. Let's just print. What should we print here, guys? let's forget about the space issue. For now, let's just try to get the correct answer for something like my name is Khan. What should I print here? Okay, DF letter, let's try that. Okay, great. Something slightly annoying about this is that we are getting all of these things on different lines. So let's just, so again, multiple ways of handling that if you just want to print in the function, but notice that I'm actually returning the answer and printing it there. So I'm going to initialize answer to an empty string and say, okay, so I think we'll do better now. Okay, great. We are not returning answers, so we don't see what's going on. This time it should really work. Fingers crossed. Let's see. Okay, good. Just to be really sure, let me just paste this. So there are better ways of writing like test cases, but I know that I'm going to try out this example here. So okay, so we seem to have gotten the correct answer on this example, but of course we have not accounted for the spaces. So any suggestions for what we should do here? Essentially, if D of letter was the same for the previous letter, then we need to print a space, right? Okay. Yeah, okay. Thanks for all these suggestions in the chat for using the end parameter for print. I'm super happy that you remember that. But I just noticed that I was printing the output of the function, so I just decided to create a string instead. So it's the same, but I mean, yeah, you could also directly print, and that should be fine as well. Yeah, cool. All right, so give me a +1 if things are okay so far, that we have the code without accounting for the issue of spaces, and then we will try to fix that one remaining thing. Prakram, do you mean visually? Like, how do I compress the dictionary so that you don't see all of it here on the screen? That's just this, you see this on line number 6, you see that little tiny plus sign in the left just next to the line number. That lets you compress parts of your code. So even if you have like a lot of function definitions, you could compress those as well. So it's a good way to get like a big picture of your code, what is going on. So in like real life projects, this is often very helpful. Okay, some interesting suggestions for handling spaces. Let me see if I can, like, think of doing it in the most natural way possible. So we will basically say So let me try and keep track of where we are in the string. So in the beginning, I don't care, there's nothing to check. But if I've made progress, if I've gone beyond the first letter in the string, then I want to check if previous equals df letter. I should be a little bit careful. So what I'm trying to say is that if the previous thing that came up in the translation, if the first so if, for example, that was a 2-2 or something, and currently also we have to print a 2 or a 2-2 or whatever, then I need to print a space. So essentially, if the first character of the current translation and the first character of the previous translation, if they match, that's when I need to print a space. So what do I need to say here? What should previous be equal to? Okay, missed a couple of messages. Okay, so I just want to repeat my thanks for all the suggestions that have come in the chat so far. But I just want a suggestion for, yeah, Aishwarya is saying we did not update anything in previous, so it's always the empty string. So how do we fix that? What should previous be? You could also do this check against answer of -1, by the way, it'll be the same thing, I think. This is like the last letter that you printed. Okay, thanks. Previous should be df letter indeed. And this, as I said, either way should work. Also the fact that since you're doing this at I is equal to 0, answer of -1 will always be well defined. And previous will always also be well defined, hopefully. Okay. So we add the space. We hopefully this logic is clear. Okay. Let's try and see if this works for ABC, for example. Okay. This was okay. I have to be a bit careful. I'm not sure if we need a space between 3-3 and 5-5-5. Or even between a 6-6 and a 3-3. So we seem to be adding too many spaces. Okay, let's understand what's happening. Let's understand what's happening for this example. So n. So when we go through n, this will not execute. We will get answer is equal to 6, 6. I is incremented and previous is incremented to 6, 6 as well. So previous of 0 should be 6 and answer of, okay, this should not be answer of -1. This should be D of letter. Sorry. This will always be true, guys. Previous of 0 and answer of -1. So what I wanted to compare it with was current. So instead of maintaining previous, okay, I think what I meant to say was this, if it's not too confusing, what I meant to say was that instead of previous, we could just do answer of -1. Okay, so then we don't really need this at all. Okay, so let's try this again. Okay, now we're in trouble because this is not even getting, it's not giving me a space when I need a space. So this should be D of letter of 0. Okay, does that look right to everybody? Let me just do ABC as well. Let's do hi. And I forgot what was the other. This was, I remember that we said that this name had no spaces in it. Does anyone have a name which causes spaces to be printed? Okay, sorry, so I was a bit focused on debugging, so I did not follow the chat so much. Sorry about that. But I think all of you who were contributing were helping along the right directions. So good. Let's yeah, you could also maintain the previous thing. It will also work. Okay, so you could initialize previous and previous equals D of letter, but if I can do it with one less variable, I just prefer to do it with one less variable. So yeah, we discussed DB BD for some time, so let's see how that works out. So that worked out fine. But yeah. Aishwarya, your name has no spaces. Is that, can you confirm? And Meet would have spaces because of the repeating E, so let's check that. Yes. Dhruv, do you have spaces? Okay, Prithviraj is nominating Dhruv's name, U and V. Okay, 8. Yeah, okay, good. Yeah, all right. Shreyash, yes. Shreyash, your name turns out to have no spaces. Sankarshan, let's try Sankarshan. Do we expect a space here? S, A, N, K, A. These letters are, okay, R and S are on the same letter, so there should be a space. Yes, good. All right. Let's do Tom and Jerry. Okay, nice. All right, let's do Prakram. Has anybody submitted this code? Does it work on Canvas? All right, Prakram, you're right. Your name has a space of the 7. Okay, let's check if we run into any trouble with the official test cases. Okay, my code seems to pass. What about you guys? Can you please give me some energy in the chat if you manage to submit? Okay, Aishwarya, sorry, I don't know what are you saying no to? So, so we'll wait for you to clarify. Uh, Please let me know if you managed to submit, and if you're getting 100% score. Okay, Aishwarya, this is a good time to do it. If if you want to avoid, okay, YouTube will not let me post such a long comment. Sorry, I was hoping that I can just share that line with you so that you don't have to type it. Shreyash, you're getting a wrong answer, okay? Okay, so you'll have to share your code with us so that we can try to debug it. But I don't know how you all are positioned. Do you want to spend like another few minutes and do either conditions or odd even? We can do one more problem. I don't know if you want to do both problems, but because odd even is really quite simple, folks. You should be able to knock that out quite easily. I don't remember if conditions was crazy or easy. I think it was probably on the easier side. But if you just want to take a break now, that's fine as well. So let me know if you want to do one of odd, even, or conditions. Then please type the name of the problem in the chat. If you want to be done and stop the stream now, feel free to let me know as well. Okay, sorry, I should probably show you the logic rather than the. Could reduce the font size a bit so that you can see more of the code. Okay, for those of you who have submitted this one, the typing SMS one, again, it'll be great if you could double check the code that Shreyash, this code is for this code is for T9 here. Yeah, I have reposted the link that you have shared, Shreyash. If you could clarify which problem that is for. Okay. Okay, you're saying yes. I presume that you're saying that this is for the T9 problem. So again, some of you in the chat want to take a look and help out. That'll be great. Okay, Heiko, how do you check if a number is a perfect square? Again, I think already Aryan has a response there. You could import maths and take the square root, right? And then you could do an int of the root and then multiply the integer version of the root with itself and see if you get back n, right? For something like 25, square root will return 5.0, I think. And then you could check if int of 5.0 times int of 5.0 is equal to the original number 25, which in this case it will be. But if it's not a perfect square, then it will be slightly different, right? So let me just go back here. Let's say import math. This, I think, will always return like a floating point number. So let's do something like 21. So let's say x equals this. It doesn't matter. You could, let's say we do floor of x. Okay. So remember that x is a float, and it's always a float irrespective of whether the number that's input to it is a perfect square or not. And because we've taken floor, y is always going to be an int. Okay, so we can look at y times y, that's 16, and we can ask if y times y is equal to the original number, which was 21, which it's not. But if we did this whole exercise with n is equal to 25, for example, so we say x is equal to let's see that this is true. So this is one way of checking if a number is a perfect square. Oh, sorry, I didn't realize that this is blocking your view a bit. Okay, so hopefully this makes sense. Okay, thanks to those in the chat who took a look at Shreyash's code. I think you have some suggestions, Shreyash. If you could please double check. Okay, great, 100%. That's awesome. Okay, so Haiku, hopefully this answers your question about like how to check if a number is a perfect square. So I think you have to check if a number is a perfect square, and if you have to check if the number of ones in the binary representation is odd or even. So so guys, do you want to do conditions? How many of you want to do conditions? If there's like more than 10 people who say conditions in the chat, I'll do it. And somebody said they're getting a 85% on odd even. I don't know if that is because you have to be careful about Sunday. Sunday all cars can travel. Just double check that once. Yes, Ashutosh, that's a good way of doing it in one line. Absolutely. Okay, so I'm assuming that some of you want to stay back to discuss conditions. So let's do conditions. I will have to kind of make sure that I have the problem loaded up. 1 second. Kush, please check if in the dictionary everything has a single quote, yeah. So I think you will have trouble if some of those happen to be integers in your dictionary. So please double check your dictionary. Otherwise, like Shreyash did earlier, if you could also post a link to your code, and then maybe the chat is super helpful. So maybe somebody can take a look, or I'll see if I can take a look in due course. Okay, let's go to conditions. Okay. Fine. So we have to read a list of numbers, and we have to output the largest of the n numbers that is a perfect square and whose binary representation has an odd number of ones. Okay. All right. So Madhav, will the live session be over after discussing conditions? Unless there's a lot of demand to do odd even, I'm happy to stay and do it if you guys want it. But yeah, depending on how bored everyone is, we will end or continue with the live stream. So I've just reposted Meet's link. Uh, Meet, can you please clarify in the chat what this is about? What do you want to confirm? And as I said, if not me, I think somebody can help. Okay, so let me get rid of this. And so now we're solving conditions. All right, so as usual, the first line is the number of numbers. So let's just make sure that we are reading the input properly. Sorry. Okay, so this seems to be okay. We have the list of integers, and now there are two things that we need to check, like is it a perfect square, and does the binary representation of the number have an odd number of ones? So let's define two separate functions. So this is perfect square. This takes a number as input and checks if it's a perfect square, and I think we'll import math for this one. And what we said was x is the square root, y is the square root float, for example, and we're going to say return Does this seem okay? Okay, so this seems to be making sense. Let's try this with another input. Okay. All right. So are we good up to is perfect square? Give me a +1 if the perfect square check makes sense. Aishwarya, sorry, you can't see the REPL output. Good point. Hopefully this is better now. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. So so I think we are good up to checking for perfect squares. Okay. Now we need to check if the number of ones in the binary representation is odd or even, right? So let's define is. So how do you convert a number into its binary representation? You did this in the very first assignment, where some of you were probably not happy that that's something we asked you to do. But does somebody remember how do you convert n to binary? I'll wait for somebody to tell me what to do in the chat. Okay. Sachin, bin of 2, I'm not sure what that will do, but let's just see if we can get help on the binary function. So it returns the binary representation, but you can see that the first two characters in this binary representation, it starts with 0b. So we need to sort of get rid of that. So we need to start reading the output of bin from the second index onwards, ignoring the 0th index and the first index. So we will do binary of n, and we will start reading this from 2 till the end. Okay. Now number of ones, what should I write here? Yeah, so Sachin, just a very minor correction. It's not bin of 2 but bin of n, the thing that you want to convert. And Aryan, yeah, I think you were telling me what the function is, but you do need to pass the input to the function. So same comment. Yeah, actually, Ashutosh, you're right. I mean, technically, because we are only counting number of ones, there is no need to remove the 0b. Okay, Aryan is saying we should count ones. But again, remember that this, what we have here, is it's a string, right? So let's do. So bin of 5 dot count of 1 will be slightly problematic, and the reason for that is okay, I don't think you can see the error message on my screen. So you'll see that this is a bit of an issue. Okay, so you have to be a bit careful. You have to make sure that what you're counting is also a string. So let me just hide the problem description, because I think we all know it by now. So we have to make sure that we are counting occurrences of 1 as a string. Okay, and now we can just return. We want to know if it is odd. So if the remainder is 1, that's when we are happy, and otherwise we are not, right? So okay, so so let me see if we got that right. So 9 as described in the example. So for 9, for instance, it is true that it's a perfect square, but it's false that it has an odd number of ones in its binary representation. And also when we do, so let's just do a bunch of consecutive numbers. Oh no, I meant for those to be separate lines, but okay, we'll see. So let me only print if the number of binary numbers is odd. I'm just trying to go back, if you remember the first week where we did a lot of activities with these binary representations. So I was just curious to see if there is any pattern to the number of like the true false outputs, right? So they certainly clearly are not alternating, because for instance 1 is just 1 and 2 is also 1 followed by a 0, and then when 3 comes along it becomes a 1 1 and so on. But if anybody spots an interesting pattern, actually, so this is not a question that I have an answer to, so if anybody spots something interesting, let me know. But okay, I think our functions seem to be working properly, right? So now what do we need to do? We just need to say if x is a perfect square, and has an odd number of ones. And okay, let me, for space, let me write this. We want the largest such number, remember, that's what we want to output. Let me just recall this. So you want the largest of the n numbers that's a perfect square, and if there is no such number, return -1. So let's declare our answer to be -1. And if x is bigger than answer, then answer equals x. Okay, and now at this point we could just print the answer. So let's try this with the answer here should be 4 because it's the only perfect square. And if it was a competition between 4 and 9, it's still going to be 4 because 9 is a perfect square but does not have an even number of ones in its binary representation. Let's see what happens if we do 4 and 25. Then we get 25 because 25 has apparently an odd number of ones in its binary representation. Yeah, cool. Alright, so something like this should work. We should not be printing the list, but why don't you all check this out and see if it works with the official test cases, and give me something in the chat, people, so I know that you're following along and that you successfully submitted this problem. Seems to work for me, so it should work for you. Yay, okay, 100% in SMS, Aishwarya, that's great. I think you were saying earlier that the code is long. I'm glad that you got that out of the way. Anyone for conditions? Please tell me that you have submitted and you have a perfect response from the judge, from Canvas, whatever. Okay, I hope I'm still connected. The chat's gone completely quiet. I'm a bit worried now. Okay, super. W Kumar, is that a typo or did you really have 0%? Please share your code if you're having trouble. Dhruv, why should it be -1? 4 is an odd number of ones, right? Because it's a power of 2, right? And it's a perfect square. So it's -1 only when there is no number that matches both the conditions. Okay, so in this case 4 does match both the conditions. Dhruv, it's odd number of ones, I think, not odd number of zeros. Please double check the question. So I've put up the question for your reference here. So in fact, the question explicitly says that 4 should be considered. Okay. Shail, Juhil, Haiku, and Aditi, thank you. I'm glad that conditions worked out for you. Anyone else? Anyone else who got through conditions? So my Canvas notifications are full of notifications for typing an SMS. Not seeing as many submissions for conditions, so I really hope that you've already done it or you're going to do it now. Okay. Utkarsh, again, please share your code through Pastebin. I think we'll have to wrap up this stream soon, so I'm not sure if people will have a chance to help you out right away. But on the Canvas announcement, please feel free to post a link to your code. Also, all of you will be having a lab instead of the class today. So if you remember, there was an announcement with an updated schedule that was shared a few days ago or maybe a week ago or something. So if you remember, today's class has been converted to a lab. Just to give you guys last minute help on your code and sort of recap things and help you prepare for the finals. So that will also be a good time to sort out, any remaining bugs that you have in this week's lab and so on. Okay. All right. So whoever said that they were getting 85% on odd even, I hope that you have sorted that out. Guys, odd even is a really straightforward problem. You just have to filter the list based on whether the numbers are odd or even, and it's just literally a simple like 3 lines of conditions to distinguish between Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday versus Sunday. So you have to remember that on Sunday everything is fine. So that's maybe that's whoever was getting 85%, maybe that's the case that got missed. Okay. Utkarsh, don't try to copy paste your code here. Copy paste it in Pastebin, pastebin.pl. I'll share the link again. Kush, okay, so the full code is here, no? Is there anything that was left? 1 second. यहाँ पे पूरा ही तो कोड है, क्या क्या बचा है? अच्छा, maybe is perfect is not visible. Okay, everyone, this is literally the entire code, uncensored, so you can see the whole thing. Okay, Utkarsh, I'm glad that you got it working. Good to know. Kush, are you talking about a line in my code or this is line number 19 kya? So we are basically going through the input list, and for each number in the input, what we are saying is that check if it meets both of the conditions, right? Is it both, these are literally the two conditions that were given in the question, right? So it said you want to output the largest of the n numbers, that is a perfect square, and whose binary representation has an odd number of ones. So first this number has to go through this test. Okay, does it meet the criteria for even being considered as being an answer? Now if it qualifies, if it is considered worthy, then you go inside this if block and there you check if it is if the answer can put up a fight, because you want to or if this number can put up a fight with the current answer, because you have to return the largest number which meets both of these conditions. Okay, so to begin with, your answer is -1 because that's what you have to output if there is no such number, right? So to begin with, your answer is -1, and if none of the numbers in the list meet this criteria, then notice that line 2021 will never trigger, and you will just print -1. If there is at least one number that meets both the criteria, then this line 20 will trigger at least once, and because these numbers are positive, it will always overtake -1, and some answer will be declared. And going forward in the list, any other number will have to compete with the current highest number, and if it's higher than the current highest answer, the current best answer, then you update the answer. So this is just like a standard find max loop. Okay, all right, so Kush is saying that that it sounds okay, so I'm assuming that that's fine. Meet, you deleted your comment. I don't know if you plan to post it again, but I think you were saying that the problem description should be corrected. So actually I have corrected them on Sphere, but unfortunately Canvas is not reflecting, so Canvas pulls the problem descriptions from Sphere, and I think it's stuck with the old description, so I just realized that much later. So what I'll do is I'll post an announcement on Canvas with a description of the corrections. And as I said, you have one more chance in the final lab today, which you will have with your TAs, where you can sort out your bugs and whatever other issues that you're facing. Okay. All right, Aishwarya, I'm glad to hear that you got 100% in conditions. Congrats. Okay, Meet. Kush, we did not correct the test cases. We want to correct the description to match the test cases, because it's we typically put in a lot of test cases, and correcting them manually will be a bit crazy. So So when you write your code for the zero crossing detector problem, just don't do the -1 in the definition of the gap. That's it. Okay. All right. So I see that people have probably started to leave, and I think this is a good time to stop. We are just shy of 2 hours from when we started. Thanks a lot to everyone who is still around. Really appreciate it. And I really hope that you had a fun time with the labs and everything. We may still have another special meetup just to discuss the course at large and maybe do a quick recap. But if there is in terms of logistics, guys, if you are still having issues with your code, if there are bugs, or if your code is not passing all the test cases, please copy paste your code into Pastebin or Replete and share a link. Not in the chat anymore because the stream will be closing soon, but post it as a comment on the announcement in Canvas, and either one of the TAs or I will try to take a look. And as I said, please join the lab at 4:30 p.m. today, and make sure that you get all your last minute issues and doubts and all of that resolved. Okay. And yeah, Meet, as I said, let's follow this up outside of the stream. Can you please replicate this link in the comment section on Canvas? That'll be really helpful. It'll just help me keep things streamlined. And as I said, really appreciate all of you who have stayed back all the way to this point. I think we should wrap this up here, so that you have, some of you are probably taking a late day on the projects, so I should let you go back and wrap up your projects and maybe some last minute revision for the exam tomorrow. But for those of you who are still here, if you have any comments about the course in general, This is a good time to share your feedback with me. I'm also curious to know how many of you would be interested in a small, um, let's say, a workshop where we just recap all Python concepts from beginning to end. And we do it over live sessions, not pre-recorded videos, but um, just like a 3 hour boot camp style thing after the exam, not before, just so that the concepts are cemented, and maybe we can do a few we can do it through problem solving, or just do a couple of advanced concepts or whatever, um, or even just a recap of the basics. Would How many of you would be interested in a quick follow-up workshop, um, and we do it after the exam, not before? Okay, Aishwarya, thank you for the response. Is there anyone else? Give me a +1 if you would be interested in a follow-up workshop. So just to be clear, this will be completely optional. We will not force it on anybody. So so you don't have to worry if you're not interested. But if there is enough interest, we would we would definitely be very happy to organize one. Okay, that's great. Would be good to see a little more energy in the chat if you're interested. Okay, the other related question is, do you like these concentrated problem solving sessions where we take a problem and we try to think about it together and we try to solve it and we write code? Would you be interested in small problem solving streams like the one that we have had today and yesterday? Just type out problem solving sessions, a +1 for problem solving sessions in the chat if you're interested. I'm thinking typically about problems that come up in like competitive programming contests like CodeChef, etc. Of course, these are useful for things like tech interviews and so on. That's why they're very popular, as you might know, either for jobs or internships or whatever. But beyond that, also, I think they're just independently a lot of fun to think about and do. So it should be fine. Shrija, if it's okay, I think if you are just off by a little bit or exactly at 12, I think it's not a late day, it's fine. Okay. Aishwarya has a vote for libraries, and okay, I'm not sure what that comment is in response to, but it's good feedback. Should have more time so that you can apply more concepts. Yeah, unfortunately, this semester itself was, so normally I think you've been doing things in some sense at a double pace. We have compressed what you would normally do over 11 or 12 weeks into 6. So definitely I should say congratulations to all of you for sort of managing this really well. Ideally, more time is always great, but also remember that if you had a regular semester, then we would have also covered a couple of additional topics, and you would have also had a couple of additional courses. So in some sense, the total load is the same, but I agree that it's it's not. I mean, the intensity is a bit different. So. So I think you all should give yourselves a pat on the back for getting through this, and hopefully most of you had a good time as well. Okay, W will account for that manually. Meet, you just wait till next semester. Yeah, this is nothing. So So this is like it's a good warm up for what is going to typically come to you in your coursework. And please don't say that you had 3 days for the project. You did have more time for the project. Let's be fair, okay? The theory assignments. Normally we would have just done it as a quiz in class, okay? So I think in some sense I thought it was a positive thing that you could do it flexibly at your own convenience. But you have turned that around, and you're saying, oh, we only had 3 days for the theory quizzes or whatever. So I agree that the last week's lab could have had more. You could have had more time, but if we had released it earlier while the previous lab was still going on, then I thought when you were focused on the projects, I thought there would be a panic even at that point. And it's because I think we got some pretty direct feedback about how this is stressful, is why we did these two streams. Now I really hope that with these discussions, you should not have trouble with the final lab. Please make sure that if there are any issues still, then you get them resolved in the lab session this afternoon. Okay, so yeah, I mean. So yeah, I mean overall, yeah, I agree, but a little bit of stress, मतलब थोड़ा stress नहीं है तो फिर मज़ा भी तो नहीं आएगा. I think this is the last time I met all of you together, not on the stream, but I don't remember. I think we did it on Zoom and so on. I think some of you said that all the JEE training has prepared you well for this sort of multitasking. So hopefully, and I promised you that we will try to challenge you a little bit. So hopefully we have succeeded. But I think overall, really, jokes apart, I think you've all, generally speaking, really risen to the challenge. I think your batch is obviously really special. You had a very unusual year. I think you had so much uncertainty with the exams to begin with, and now you're thrown into this crazy semester. So again, as I said, I think take a pause and feel think you should feel good about how far you have come. Okay, so I don't know what is this how much question for, if you could clarify, because without any context I don't know how to answer how much. Okay, and yeah, okay. So I think in general you seem to think that these sessions were helpful, so I'm glad to hear that. Thank you so much. Can you submit the project on 25th? I think just check what the official deadline is on Canvas. I think we had given 3 extra days. I think we didn't officially keep a longer deadline because some people said that they are not even available after 24th. But if you are, I think up to the 25th is fine. You can use, that's assuming you have 3 late days for the project. If you do, then you can use them all on the project. That's fine. Yeah, 25th is okay. It's just that we are planning to release a summary of your grades to you soon after the exam. So if you have not yet submitted your project, that part will show pending, and then we will update it after the project is done. Okay, so you can submit until 25th, that's fine. Media, that's the spirit, ready for what's coming next. And I think what's coming next is also absolutely great. I think things are going to get even more exciting. But yeah, to everyone who has been complaining to the FP team that you are getting 10-15 assignments in coding, guys, this is one programming assignment. Yeah, what is this? It's not fair. So people think we are torturing you in this course with too many assignments. So just because Canvas calls every problem an assignment, you don't get to go and tell other people that you have so many assignments. You altogether had 5 programming assignments, 1 for each week. Okay, let's agree on that. Sachin, let's take that individually. I think it should be okay. But I did request everyone to submit. Yeah, within. Do you need a late day for anything else anyway? I think almost everything is done, na? Or if you need it for, ठीक है, I think it should be fine. Just send me an email so that we have it on the record. Yeah. The reason we are a bit strict about the way we count late days, like I had said in the announcement, that even if it's 1 minute late, it's counted as a late day. The reason for that is otherwise there is no end to this, right? You're saying 12:25, somebody will say 1 a.m., somebody will say 2 a.m., so we have to cut it off somewhere. So it's good if we have a common agreement. But uh, yeah, Shreyash, this late day thing is only for this course. So it's not just every semester, every course will have its own policy, okay? Um, yeah, Sachin, if everything is done, then it really shouldn't matter. So it should be okay. So Shreyash, yeah, I think I just answered that question. Every course will have its own late day policy. And when we meet again, if we do for another computer science course, I don't think there's another one in the coming semester, but after that, everything will start afresh from scratch. So these late days will not matter in the second semester. It starts. The instructors who have a late day policy, it'll be independent in the second semester. Okay, cool. All right. So okay, I think at least in terms of problems, I think we are done. The only one that I did not fully code up for you was the odd even one, but as I said, trust me when I say that that's the easiest problem in the set, and I was hoping for it to just be a pleasant surprise at the end कि 5 minutes में हो जाएगा. Okay, don't take that literally. If you need a little more time, that's okay, but it's a very simple problem, so I hope you will accept that I didn't do that explicitly. But everything else is done. I hope all of you have also mostly submitted everything or will be able to submit everything. This video should be accessible right from the Canvas announcement after the stream is done. The other one, it looks like the link was wrong, so I will update that thanks to Kushagra and some others who shared the link right in the beginning. So you either already have it or you'll have it soon. And just to recap, there's a small error in the zero crossing problem, so please don't include the -1 in the definition of the gap. Other than that, I think everything is cool. And hopefully this also gives you some confidence. We sat down together for 4 hours and we practically finished the lab. So once again, all of you who have been going around saying ki 15 assignments and all that, right? Hopefully you will be a little more considerate and not feel like the load is so crazy. I think it should be a little bit crazy, but not too crazy. Yeah. Okay. All right. Cool. Shreyash, Tower of Hanoi in which one? In the project? So for the project, I will not be able to share now how many marks and all that because it will really depend on what you have submitted. And you will get to know soon. The sooner you submit, the sooner you'll know your marks, okay? So that's an incentive for submitting quickly if you can. But otherwise, don't stress out. If your life is completely crazy and you need to take until 25th, that's fine, okay? All right, so I hope that this won't be our last meeting. Maybe we will have a chance to speak together again, but just in case, I want to just thank you all once again and truly congratulate all of you for getting through this semester and being such a sport and being, being so involved. Thank you again, and we will hopefully talk soon. Definitely do be in the labs to have like a final round of revisions and final chat with your TAs. And let's wrap this up here. Closing the stream for now. And once again, thanks for sticking around. Bye for now.